Hey, I'm Kingsley from Guardians of Axum, and I'm going to be live coding over the next few weeks to build Guardians of Axum, which is a turn-based competitive trading card game. So the game itself is a bit like Hearthstone, if you played that before. So we have decks of cards, and we have 4 different themes we're going to start with. So we're going to have paladins, angels, demons, and undead, and there's going to be a whole storyline around those different deck themes. And the game is going to be a fast-paced game where you can play against other people. So the tech itself, I'm going to use Godot game engine to build the game. I think that's where I'm headed anyway. So there's going to be 3 kind of main phases to this development. So the first phase is to build a pre-sales app. So step 1 is raise a bit of money, some funds, so that we can continue development, because it's pretty expensive to get artwork done and continue game development. So the idea of the card pre-sale is to raise some funds, and the first app we're going to build will be the pre-sale app, and we'll probably build that in the Godot engine just so that we can reuse some of the parts that we're building, things like the collector's deck, and the sorting views with that, the card purchase bits and pieces, and a lot of other reusable things that will make its way into the final product. The second thing is to build a very, very basic web-based mechanics prototype, so no graphics, just very, very simple and basic to test out the game, the gameplay and the game mechanics. And then the final stage is to start building the actual game, and that will hopefully be funded by the card pre-sale and any other funds that I can find. And the game itself, I think, is going to be built on top of my blockchain, which is Sushi Chain. So all of the game assets will be managed in Sushi Chain, in the blockchain. So it's kind of a variety of things that I'm going to cover while building this game. So there'll be various blockchain related development, there'll be web-based development, there'll be Godot games and graphics development and things like that. So the first thing we're going to start building right now is the basic prototype, just so that we can get it up and running, play around with different configurations of gameplay. And the other thing is I'm going to try and stream regularly, hopefully every day for the next few weeks. And there's not really a good time to stream, so right now it's quite late at night, and my 2 small kids are asleep in bed, so I can't be too loud, so I can't wake them up. And also, because it's late, I've been at work, so I'm tired. So you'll probably watch me make loads of mistakes, misspell things and mistype things, and various other problems that come from being tired. But we'll keep going and see how far we get. So tonight's plan is to start the game mechanics prototype. So I'm only hoping to get the basic infrastructure and framework running. So I'll be using Crystal. No one has really heard of Crystal much, but it's a Ruby-like language, and it's very nice to use. It's typed, and also it's got a lot of performance benefits, and I think once it goes mainstream, it'll be pretty popular. So I'm going to build a front end and a back end. The front end will be in JavaScript, and again I'm going to use an extremely niche framework called Mint, which is actually written in Crystal. And I've tried all the main frameworks, but I just like the feel of Mint. I've come from Elm recently, so Mint kind of feels like Elm but without all the restrictions. And obviously, Elm's a functional programming kind of language, so it tends to be pure. But Mint isn't pure, so it's easy to do lots of shortcuts and get things going quick. Drop down to JavaScript if necessary. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing is we go and create the project. So this is going to be a Crystal app, and I'm going to use the Camel web framework. So we'll do Crystal in its app. Guardians of Axum Mechanics, I'm going to call it. There we go. Go in here. Okay. So now we're going to open this in Atom. Just close all these millions of welcome guides that always pop up when you open Atom. Okay, so the first thing is to bring in some dependencies that we need to run the Camel, and Camel itself is a dependency, so we'll bring that in, and we'll also bring in I'm going to use RethinkDB, which is a NoSQL DB. So I've got a few dependencies here which I use a lot. I'm just going to paste these in. Okay, so the first one is Camel. It's a web framework. This is a testing framework for Camel, and then this is session based in RethinkDB. So these are my other two projects, Rethink and the Camel session Rethink. And then we'll use a watcher so that when we change a file on the file system, it will immediately reload the web part. So you'll see when we get to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a couple of environments. So in source, I'm going to create environments folder, and we're going to have development YAML file, and we're going to have test. It's going to be a YAML file. So in development, we will have a database. Name is GoaMech dev, small d. And in test, we'll have a database. And we'll call this one GoaMech test. Okay, so that's our two databases we're going to need. Then we need some config so that we can start up databases. So config in here. Here we're going to require camel, and require YAML, and then we need a struct database config, and here we will get the database by name. So it'll be a string. Okay, now we're going to have a struct for the environment. So this is a YAML mapping database, and we use database config here. And then we need something that we can load environment with. So the env is going to be camel config env by default, and then I'm going to load it by doing env from YAML file read, and now we will get the current working directory like that, and then env, and then the env dot YAML. So that's going to load up the development YAML and the test YAML, basically just get the database name from those when we load these up. Okay, so we need some main web framework stuff now. So we'll get rid of this and we'll bring in everything in the GoMech folder, everything in the GoMech repos that we're going to add in a minute, and of course we need to bring in camel. So if we create a new module called GoMech, and then we'll do a get, do context. Okay, so he's going to print hello, and then at the bottom we do camel run, which runs the thing, runs the web server. Okay, so I'm going to create a GoMech folder inside source, GoMech, and in here I'm going to put all of the supporting code. So I'm going to move config in here, and also I'm going to make a repos folder in here. Oops. Repos, and then inside repos we're going to create a database CL. What happened to repos? Database.cl. There you go. Now this is going to hold some database related functions. So we're going to bring in Crystal Rethink DB, and then I'm going to create a class database. We're going to use this to initialize the database. So include Rethink DB shortcuts, and then we need a connection, which is going to be Rethink DB connection, and we'll have the env, which is going to be an env, and then we will initialize with a host and environment. Okay, so the environment is going to be that, and then the connection we'll set as rconnect, which is a method in the Rethink DB, and we'll just say what host and which DB, and it's going to be the env database name, which is coming from that env stuff we did earlier. Okay, now we're going to need a connection, so we'll just return it here in case we need to use it. And now we're going to recreate the database, recreate database. Okay, so this is going to be where we do the work of dropping the database if it exists. If it doesn't exist, then we'll create it. So we'll do this in a begin, rescue, and in the begin we'll do our db drop env database name. Then we'll run this with the connection. And if there's a problem, we'll just for now put the message out of the problem. Once we've done that, we'll do db create, give it the database name, run this, and give it the connection. So that should be enough to initialize database. Okay, so also we're going to need the web app on the front. So this is going to be written in Mint. So we need to create a Mint application. So, oops, let's see. And that's going to live in source directory. So Mint init, I'm going to call it web app. There you go, go into web app. Okay, so now we can see here we have a set of Mint files which are for the web app. So by default, this is just going to produce a hello Mint page. So every time we make a change now, we want to publish the Mint app into a public folder at the root level of GoMac project. So we'll create a new folder called public, and this will have all the artifacts that Mint has produced. So it's going to basically produce a whole load of JavaScript files and an index, and that will render on the front end. So the next thing we're going to do is create a DB file, which is we're going to use to call that recreate database that we created earlier, and that is, where should I put that? I think I'm going to put that just in the root of source. So I'll just close the web app, close GoMac, and the root of source. We'll create a file called create db.cr. Okay, for this to work, we have to require GoMac config, require GoMac repos database, and then set the env, just load env. So we're going to use the camel environment variable, so that's going to load that by default. Database new, and we'll just run a local host one here, and environment database recreate database. Let's drop that down there. Okay, that's good. So now let's build a watcher, again in the root level. Of source, let's call it watcher.cr. Okay, watcher. So I do have a webcam and I will be setting that up at some point. The main issue right now is that I have a lot of junk in my room, which I'm pretty sure no one wants to see, and I need a bit of time to clear that out. The other thing, I've also got a green screen, but my office isn't huge, so it's going to take a bit of time to clear it out so I can fit my green screen in the background. And then once I've got that running, then I will be able to superimpose myself onto the background, which I've seen it done in some of the other live streaming things. It looks pretty cool, so I'll give it a go. The other thing is as well, you can probably see I've got the OBS streaming settings open in the web browser. I was trying to find some good settings to use. I'm not really sure if I've found some good settings yet, but time will tell, and also we'll keep messing around with the settings until things look good. Okay, so I'm basically just building a watcher here, which is going to watch these files, and every time it detects a change to the file, or to these mint files, it's going to say, hey, we're reloading, and it's also going to say, I'm just calling this exec function that I wrote at the top there, which basically is just executing the process. So I'm going to give it a command line to execute, and it executes it. So we're going to go in the source build-up directory, and we're going to run the mint build -s, which is going to build us all of our output artifacts, the JavaScript code that we need, and then in the web app here, it's going to, when you run mint build, it puts everything into the dist directory. So then we're going to copy all that dist stuff into the main public directory. I think that's all I need to do here. That should be puts exec. Alright, and then we're going to copy source web app public index.html out to the public space, and then I'm just going to say, hey, we are done reloading. All done. Okay, that's our watcher. So one other thing I like to do is create some aliases so that I can easily run some of the processes that we need to run. We need to run rethinkdb, we need to run this watcher, we need to start up the Mint app, start up the Crystal Camel app. So I like to create some aliases for all these things. So I'm going to just stick that right in the root of the project, and I'm going to call it go mech profile.sh. In here we'll do bin bash. Okay, now we'll create an alias. So we'll start with G, and that will cd into my dev projects go mech location. Then we'll have gdb, and for this we will switch to G, which will put us into the go mech root directory, and here we're going to set the camel environment to development, and run the create db class that we worked on before, and then we'll also have a gdb test, And this one we'll switch into the G, and we'll set the camel env to test, and we'll run the crystal source create DB. So that's that, and then we need to run mint as well. Let's call it gmint. Switch into G, and this is going to be in source web app, and then we'll run mint start minus port, run that on port 3001, and then we'll have gr, which will start up the back end. So that's going to be a camel env of development, and this will be crystal run source go mech. That's the main one. Okay, and then we're gonna have some tests, some specs. Well, we may not have too many to start with, because this is supposed to be very light, quick prototyping kind of thing to test game mechanics. So I'm not sure exactly how much testing we'll do, but it's good practice, so we'll keep it. Right, so this would be test, then we run crystal spec. Now let's start the watcher. So G and crystal run. Now we run the watcher that we wrote earlier. And lastly, GX. This is going to start crystal. This is going to start the rethink DB. So we'll kill rethink DB if it exists, and then we'll switch to G, start at rethink DB on HTTP port 8085 in the daemon mode. Yeah, daemon mode. So I'll also be showing you some of the artwork and the cool animations that we're working on. So that'll be coming up in one of the later sessions this week. Okay, so now I just need to link this profile into my bash profile. So I'm just going to do that off screen a sec. Bash profile, and then I'm going to source this file. So this will, every time I use one of the aliases, it will be immediately available. GoMech, what did I call it? It's GoMech profile. GoMech profile. Okay, so let's create a new terminal over here. This is type G. Great, that's working. Let's replace that terminal over here. So now we need to go check everything's working. So the first thing is to start up GR, which is the back end. Yes. Did I do a shards install? Obviously not. So shards install fetches all the dependencies. Let's try it again. Okay, so that starts up in port 3000. So now if I go in the browser to localhost 3000, yeah, I see my hello. So if you remember back in the main GOMEC CR file, we're just putting hello on the get of the root. So that's working. So now we need to get our other part working, the front end. So at the moment there's no database stuff involved really, so I should just be able to do g mint. So that's good. So import 3001. There we go, hello mint. So if we look at the web app, the main, yes, it says hello mint, great. So now let's start the watcher up. Just resize this a little bit so you can see what's going on. And we'll start this one up. And now over here we'll run the g watch. Okay, and you can see in the public folder it's put a load of stuff. And let's try changing something. So if I change hello mint to hello GOMEC, brilliant, hello GOMEC. So I think that is a good start. We've got the framework here. We can start building the web app and the back-end infrastructure is in place. Database, let's give that a quick try. Let's create another shell here. So this should be gx. Okay, that's good. And then gdb. The first time it doesn't exist, so it can't drop it, so that's expected. Run it again. Yep, it looks good. So it should have created me on localhost 8085. Here's the rethink DB backend. Here we go, GOMEC dev was created. And if we run gdb test, and then check, here we go. So we've now got the dev and the test databases set up. So obviously we need to put tables in there and get those going, but I think that's enough for now. So yeah, that was good. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I'll try and upload the video, and yeah, there'll be a lot more to come. I think the next thing we'll work on is some very basic user, so that we can have more than one user log in, and then once the users are logged in, we'll start looking at how to add the cards for the game, and a very basic gameplay screen where you can start a game against the other person, and then I think we'll build some very, very basic AI which will let us test out the game under different circumstances. So that's it. I'll try and come here between 9 and 10 every day. We'll see how long I can keep it up for. But yeah, thanks for watching, and check out the Discord channel. It's linked in on the Twitch page, and also check out we've got various websites and information linked on the description underneath the Twitch video. So thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.